Happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. Now, the sponsor of this show is IamWilliamBrown.com, a place where you can find items that will help you be yourself and to live your life. And it's also a place where you can have conversations that will help you do the same. And I will invite you at the end to connect with me to have a conversation of your own. One way that I include or spotlight the items that are available or on IamWilliamBrown.com is my U cards. So the U cards are intention setting cards, and that's there's other ways that you can use them, like a game, but setting the intentions are one thing that I use them for. So I decided to set the intention for this conversation, and within that, my I am card is I am curious. You are card is you are heard. And my quote card for this conversation is be you, the world will adjust. So that is always fun when I set the intention for that. So, with that in mind, I will introduce our word for this conversation, which is wellness. And so, if you have been joining us this week, we've been having a conversation around wellness. This is something that someone offered as a recommendation. It's like, oh yeah, I think it would be very interesting if a number of people had the same word. And so this is that week where we put that into practice. And it's been very enlightening to see the different conversations that we've had around this word. So, with that in mind, I am going to bring up my guests and we are going to have a conversation.
Hi, Bill.
Hello, my friend. Uh, this is the moment in the show where I ask you or invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
My name is Kristen Luppenlataz Grech, and I know you from Camp GLP.
Yep.
I'm a Pilates teacher, and my specialty is incorporating the Pilates work into everyday movements.
Hmm.
So, doing the dishes, housework, walking, gardening, in your car.
Right.
Because what I found is I did Pilates for many years and I still had pain and
Right.
imbalances. And I could go into the Pilates studio and do the work really well and organize everything, but it took me some conscious effort
Hmm.
to start to integrate the movement I was doing in the Pilates studio into the things I was doing every day. And when I did that, my pain went away. That's what I find with my students now too. So I
Wow.
feel like when I'm living my life, I'm thinking about the positioning of my body just automatically at this point, and I feel better than ever.
Wow. Wonderful. I mean, I totally get that. There is a number of I guess fitness or opportunities to kind of get in tune with my body that scared the heck out of me, and Pilates was one of them, right? you know, I can say Zumba or and sometimes even yoga, right? So all these other things, but being able to translate it into how you're moving your body on the daily is, I think that's incredible type of thing. So before I get too far into this, how does the word wellness show up for you?
Well, it's a very big word. I
Right.
think it can encompass so many things, and it's kind of become a buzzword. Think
Hmm.
about the wellness industry. So to me, it can mean skincare, meditation, uh, financial wellness,
Right.
community, all this big spectrum of all the many things that might make you more well or less well.
Right.
And wellness to me, I think that for me, I know that I've seen a couple places where it shows all the different components, like 6 to 9 different components of wellness.
Right.
And what to me, it really boils down to three things, which is mind, body, spirit,
Hmm.
and then all those other tangents going off.
Great.
And what I've been thinking about is I think it's important, in the same way it's important to figure out your patterns in your body, it's important to figure out what leads you into wellness.
Hmm.
So for me, it's movement.
Right.
If I'm, and during these last few months of being very sedentary and having moments of fear and um, anxiety and all these things were going, lack of community, being in my body first then allows me to be clearer in my mind and connect to spirit, or just, my higher self, what I
Right.
think of kind of as bliss, that place where everything's humming along and you're balanced.
Right.
And I think I really think everybody has a very different way of coming into it. So,
Right.
if giving yourself a facial to so that you have a healthy skin makes you feel cared for, and that helps you get in your body, clear your mind and become more connected to something higher.
Right.
I think everybody's a little bit different. And one of the things that I think is important is we have so many voices, especially now that we're all kind of trapped at home and looking at screens so much. We have so many voices coming at us. You should do
Right.
this. You need to do green smoothies. You have to meditate every morning. You must work out this many.
Right.
You need this monitor on your wrist that tells you how many steps you take. It's this bombardment of all these options of wellness. And I mean, we're in a time when we have, some of us have so many options. Even, I mean, I feel incredibly fortunate, even though I'm basically stuck at home a lot.
Right.
I still have so many options. We have the internet, and we can still connect in so many ways. But I do think that we get overwhelmed by what somebody else's prescription is for our wellness, and we've kind of lost track of what is it for me to feel well. And maybe it's much simpler. Sometimes I get overwrought. I think I'm supposed to be doing this, 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 and this, and it's just kind of too much. And
Right.
for me, what I found is if I move my body, then everything flows from there, which is why you may have seen me dancing in my kitchen. That's,
Right.
to me,
Right.
the essence of when I take myself to my kitchen, where I spend a damn lot of time,
Right.
and just listen to some music that makes, comes in the brain, and it elevates the spirit, but it starts from moving my body.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that
I.
works for me.
No. I totally get it. I think there's a part of me that um, s- would feel that it starts with the body, right? I felt like wellness was fitness. If I wasn't, fit, or if I wasn't in the gym, or if I wasn't eating correctly, I wasn't well.
Right.
But it has shifted to more of how am my mind is how well am I? What's my mindset? And I don't want to say I'm neglecting um, my body or my movement and all that other kind of stuff. But if I don't start there, but now I'm moving into my spirit and my what I soul. I think I've really
Yeah.
connected more, on this journey to how I'm feeling, what is going on, and it comes up a lot in meditation. But it feels like until I kind of get one area kind of under control, then I can do, the other. So the I guess the question that I have, it's not, am I doing it wrong, but is there more of an integration type of mind, body, and spirit action, that can happen that will kind of hit all those areas? Or do you want, or is it sequential one, kind of work on this level of awareness and that it causes something else to happen?
Yeah, well, that's true. For me, when I start to move my body, it's not just body. It's
Right.
body, mind, spirit. I think you can't unentangle them. To
Right.
me, it's one
Gotcha.
thing. Like you said, if you're going to the gym and working out, but it's cut off
Right.
from mind and spirit, like people who are listening to the news or watching CNN while they just trot along on a
Right.
that's that's body without the integration into mind and spirit,
Right.
and that you might not feel very good. I mean,
Right.
that's you might, and I hear often, sometimes students come to me and they're doing what they think they're supposed to be doing. They're running
Mhm.
on the treadmill 30 minutes a day, but they feel like crap. They're
Right.
pushing themselves and they're not listening to their body, and they're not in touch with that that spirit
Right.
component too. So I think the three are, you really can't separate the three, or if
Right.
you do, you're doing yourself a disservice. And that's why singing and dancing is very much, although
Right.
I'm thinking about my mind. I guess maybe where the mind comes in for me is I'm thinking about my alignment. I have
Hmm.
kind of a, a bigger consciousness about how I'm moving.
Right.
So I've got a little bit of brain coming in terms of, I mean, I'm on camera too, so there's some logistics. But for me, as an extrovert, why I turned the camera on me is, if I'm just alone at home, I might do a little bit of movement, but I'm not going to do a full on dance in the kitchen unless
Right.
somebody's with me, my kids or my husband, maybe. But that's why I started using video, because another component of wellness is community.
Right.
And as an extrovert, um, I'm very extrinsically motivated.
Right.
So even if I never show the video to anyone, there's like an audience, somebody that I'm
Wow.
interacting with. And if I can't be in a club with you dancing right now, I like to imagine it in my
Right.
kitchen.
I there's like a part of me. What was coming up for me is like there is no part of me that wants to do that as an introvert wants to do that on camera. Right? It's like
Right.
I have this feeling of like Elaine Bennis dancing and
Oh
being
yes,
caught on video,
I have
type
been
of thing.
compared to Elaine
Right,
Bennis.
right, so it's just like I am more mortified about that somebody is watching or could possibly be watching, or something. So it does not bring me wellness. Right,
It's why we all got to find our own way
right,
in, right?
right. And it's like because it is a personal thing, and I
Yeah.
think too often, like you were saying, I can remember the reason, there were some fitness activities that I was doing that I was, on the treadmill with an audiobook. But like a work audiobook type of thing.
Right.
It was like I'm like learning something about my business type of thing.
Right.
So I was like not connected to, every once in a while I look down and see, my heart rate or my steps or whatever, or my time or all that other kind of stuff, but really disconnected from
Yeah.
anything that was going on. And it was like, I don't want to say a drudgery, but it was something. It didn't bring me joy at all. It was just something that I had to do.
Yeah.
And I think really, looking for activities or just being intentional about the activities that you're doing, that will bring in the mind and the soul within it, and
Right.
not try to just kind of find this all thing. I think I've used before that yoga for me. It's like, well, that seemed would touch all of those areas at once, But for
Mm-hmm.
me, I would be so in my head, did I do this position right
Right.
or anything like that? It caused me more stress than bliss, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
type of thing. And so it's like I'm doing it wrong. You're like, so I can't get over that, and that wasn't creating wellness, or
True.
excitement about it.
Yeah. Well, we all have, with that perfectionist brain that thinks that we should not be a beginner.
Right.
Yoga's hard.
Right. And
So
it's like feeling that, hey, I've seen people do it in movies. I saw this on grid, so yeah, I could do that, and I
yeah,
should be able to do that right out of the gate. You know,
I think that's one of the reasons that Pilates can be so intimidating,
yes,
because people show off these really incredibly difficult poses. So you have this idea of super fit people, but Pilates is really for anybody. And I teach very small movements, very deep internal movements. Mostly work with people who are have chronic injury and are getting back into their bodies. So it's not
right,
generally not that great big movement, but
right,
when you practice in that small intentional way, then you can work in your garden. And I mean, we all do big things, even if we have a chronic injury or a bad pattern. We're walking and
right,
doing things around those, picking things up. So practicing in that small way then affects everything we do,
how
which
can
I think is the true with any kind of practice, any kind of meditation or physical practice, prayerfulness, or
right,
intellectual study too. I mean, all of those things then kind of build the wellness, and keeping it
right.
balanced, I think it's important too.
Yeah, I think that the thing that was coming up for me is because I have found myself in this place. So it's like I'm telling on myself, and I'm kind of hoping that I don't do this. It's like when I look at my wellness, right? I say that, it's like an on and off switch.
Mm,
It's like I have to be. It's like, okay, I haven't been fit for so long now. I gotta get fit, and so I try to do
right,
these big
right,
gestures,
right,
right?
right. Yeah,
It's like in my meditation. I haven't meditated, so I gotta like get, this. I'm
right,
gonna meditate for an hour, right?
right.
Or something. Can you help the smallness of
Yeah,
staying within our wellness and just adopting that? Is that something that you could share
absolutely.
of
That's why I
easy
think
ways?
uh, Joseph Pilates. I keep mentioning Joseph Pilates because I'm a Pilates teacher, and he was a
Right.
very smart man. He One of his quotes says, it's about um, everyday movement, and he says, "Do your everyday tasks with spontaneous zest and pleasure."
Hmm.
But that is one of my favorite quotes, because
Hmm.
spontaneous zest and pleasure with every little task, so
Right.
that when you're doing the dishes, for me it was, I had chronic pain from a couple of car accidents, and when I was doing the dishes or cooking even, it was excruciatingly painful because I was holding myself in a way from an old pattern. So,
Right.
and breath is a big piece of it too.
Hmm.
Breath kind of informs all these, um, this trio of wellness. So,
Right.
and in a meditation, we start with breath too.
Right.
So, and it gets oxygen to your brain, so it feeds all three.
Right.
So just in small moments, having full breath, having
Right.
ease, clearing your mind, letting joy flood in, even in tiny little ways. Yeah, because we do think that I've got to run a 5K, I've got to lift this much weight, I got to get to the gym an hour,
Right.
or I got to meditate every morning for an hour, or I've got to study, these books, and progress in my career and get smarter and smarter. And
Right.
that's a lot, and that isn't necessarily wellness. You may
Right.
find yourself unwell if
Right.
you're forcing all of that. So, um, little minutes, little moments of meditation, a walking meditation.
Right.
Yeah, so for me, that the breath and movement starts it off,
Right.
and then it can flow anyway. One of the things that I've been doing, thankfully, I can still do it and stay socially distanced, is stand up paddleboarding.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, that just like scares
it's
me. Right.
well, I do it in our local river. So if
Right.
you fall off, you're pretty much almost always standing on the river floor. It's not very deep,
Right.
and it's pretty, it's not really very dangerous.
Right.
But I do think it hits all of those things because I'm thinking about where I'm going. My brain is free to have big thoughts. Something about
Right.
water makes me uh, scintillates my imagination,
Right.
and I think, you can easily connect to spirit outside. But I'm also
Right.
working really hard in very little ways, because it looks
Right.
like I'm just
Right.
standing, but there's all these little
Things
movements,
that
and
are
I
happening.
think that's
Right.
one of the reasons I love it so much.
Wow. Yeah. I'm like, I'm like thinking, hey, maybe where can I find, you know, ways to do that? And I think it's that the smallness of it that I think it's the power of it, and um, and I think they most overlooked. I'm speaking for myself here. I mean, because the one thing that I have recognized in myself, or that I try to be very mindful of the slight changes
Mm.
that happen in my life. And I
Yeah.
purposely look out of my window the same place every day, and not just look for the difference, but recognize that there is a difference.
Mm. That's
And so
cool.
when I do that, it reminds me that I can live in this moment, or a past a moment,
Yeah.
or yesterday. Oh, it looks the same, or and that's how, because I don't want to show up in my work that way. I don't want to show up in my relationships that
Right.
way, and that's kind of the helping me. So, and I think that's
That's
why
great.
the
Yeah.
little things that I'm really trying to embrace that around my wellness,
Hmm.
because um, too often I look for the big results.
Right.
I look from the keg to the as they say, the six pack, right?
Right.
you know, Overnight, so, or,
Right.
it's like,
Exactly. We all want immediate
type of thing,
results.
right? And it's just like, dude, it's that level of awareness and small things that you're doing over a period of time. And I think the other thing I've mentioned on the show a couple of times, that I have this unhealthy relationship with consistency,
Mm.
and it's like, there is some things that I need to keep doing, and there's some things that I need to stop doing, right?
Yeah.
And just knowing the two, right? Knowing what,
Yeah.
which one am I doing right now, right? Which one, type of thing. And too often it's just like, I got to be consistent. I'm committed to being consistent, and not to the task, and not to what I'm
Right.
doing. So the more that I am intentional, and basically recognize what I'm committed to,
Yeah.
then things could work out, for me.
Yeah, that's tough. Consistency is good.
Yeah.
I like to always be doing something new. I like
Hmm.
the shiny new thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah, there's
So,
something to
so
be
yeah.
said for those difficult, small things you do over time, even if they're not blissful.
Right.
So yeah, I'm not very good at that myself. I like the
Right.
exciting new thing. I like to throw
Right.
myself into some new experience.
Right. And
But
I think that's what our with my um self discovery journey that I'm on. It's just being open to the newness of my life, and not what not just say, oh, that's a distraction, or that's this or that. It's just new. It's something
yeah.
that it has my curiosity, it has my attention, and it doesn't have to keep it, right.
Hmm.
And it's like, and too often I was afraid of my curiosity, because it's FOMO. It's like I would be missing out on something that was more important or something, all that other kind of stuff.
Was
And
it a
it's like,
distraction, you mean?
yeah, it's, and it big, but, and I made everything a distraction. And
Mm,
so if I made everything a distraction, I was doing nothing. Right, right,
right.
it's like, yeah, and
Yeah.
so I look around and see how there is all of these nothing happening, all these nothings, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, focus on something, right? It's like,
Yeah. There's
or
definitely a
there's,
sweet spot.
something, right,
Definitely a sweet spot between following every impulse and
right,
being that steady,
right.
constant, non-distracted person. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's interesting to the self-discovery journey.
Hmm.
It's interesting now that I'm older. I'm kind of amazed at how the same I still am of like
Hmm.
my 12-year-old self and my high school self and my college self, the same struggles and the
Right,
same things that I wish there was a quick fix. So definitely as I get older, I'm more um, I'm more accepting of the way
hmm,
that it's just the way that I am, whether that's
right,
good or bad. Um,
right,
and being gentle about how to maneuver around some of the things that aren't necessarily that helpful.
right,
Being easily distracted and uh, not being super disciplined, and
right,
being a little bit accepting of the way that I truly am, and finding
right.
ways to encourage myself instead of beating myself up
Got
about
it.
why can't get to the gym and do the things. The way in is through something more pleasurable, like dancing in my kitchen. And then once I get the ball rolling, then
Right.
I seem to have more ability to do things that I know are good for me that I wouldn't necessarily, float along on a blissful bubble.
Right. No, I totally get that. I think what I am learning, also with, that there's a number of similarities and things that I thought that, well, I thought I handled that in
Yeah,
high school, or,
right.
or middle school, but here we go again.
I know.
But I think there is a level of, uh, mm, I guess, care. It's not that it just, there is acknowledgement, not that, okay, this is just how I am, but it's like I'm just not as harsh on myself.
Right.
And it's like I have noticed many times, and when I find something or refine something that is on my self discovery,
Mhm.
is is that, hey, well, why do I do that? Or why did this happen? And the more that I inquire about that, I can see that there are some things that, you know, I do or I did that were basically help me be who I am, right? It's kind of cause things that happen. It was kind of it was like myself saying, okay, this is what we need to do so we can be, here. If
Right.
we want to reach this point in our life, or, something. So it's not, in some cases, what I felt like this constant struggle to do something. It is, a piece of, a skill or a part of my personality that kind of helps me, gives me space to show up if I
Yeah.
don't judge it, right?
Right.
Y-
Yeah.
you know, and that's really, in some cases, for me, within this conversations, creating that I am probably more well than I think I am, right?
Yeah.
And instead of having the judgments about, how well I am or not, is causing the suffering, right? Right,
Right.
versus me not being well.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's a funny little
Well, and that you just made me
dance.
think of the way that I work when I'm working with a body we're looking at tension patterns. And then
Mm.
the way that I help people let go of tension patterns is we talk about where that pattern came from. Old
Mm.
injury, some kind of trauma. It might be emotional trauma, physical trauma. We look at
Right.
that pattern, we look at what it's affecting in the rest of the body. And
Right.
depending on how long you've had that pattern, you've created an imbalance, a compensation pattern. So we look at what
Right.
in the body is overworking and what in the body is not been participating as fully. But
Right.
I always come at it as honor how brilliant the body is at figuring out how to keep you moving after an injury or
Right.
whatever kind of
Wow.
trauma. And then we look at, do we need that anymore? And until you find the support, the new support underneath, then yeah, you do need it. So
Right.
it's a moving toward more balance, more mobility, strength, whatever it is you need, maybe down in your foundation. That would, like for me, it's up in my shoulder from car accidents. The car accident was 26 years ago, but my body
Right.
still goes right to this protective pattern. And what I've done is traced it back to an old injury in my knee and an injury in my left foot. So my left side isn't supporting me as well as it could.
Right.
And so I just
Wow.
default to my right side, and this is part of this stronger pattern. So in order to let that old pattern go, I have to establish this new pattern, which is a little bit unstable and not
Right.
quite as strong. But honoring the fact that my body created this stronger pattern for good reason, rather than always, people always say my bad back, my back went out, my bum shoulder, instead of
Right.
recognizing that it was all a part of your body trying to find uh, balance and keep moving. So I
Right.
think if we look
It's
at all of the patterns that we create, whether it, because sometimes you don't even know the traumas that you went through. You don't even
right.
remember some. My clients won't even remember. I'll say, well, your knee folds in. They'll say, oh, right, yeah, I got kicked by a horse. You don't even
Right.
think about that anymore, but it
Right.
informs. And I think that's
Right.
true. That's a very physical manifestation of it. But um, if when my students and myself, if I'm in pain, I'm having
Right.
trouble with the cognitive stuff. I'm having trouble with the spiritual connection. I may be having, that is going to affect everything: my relationships, my finances, my ability to be present and connect. Um,
Right.
so, I mean, just looking at all of the habits that we set up,
Hmm.
why'd you do that? So much
Right.
of, how we set up, how well or not well we are, is based on when we were kids, what happened when we were kids, or just all the little things through our
Right.
lives that
Wow.
you're trying to manage, and being kinder about it, and recognizing that it
Right.
was that it served its purpose. And in order to let it go, instead of just saying let that go, what do you need to what new thing do you need to
Right.
establish to so that you can let
So
that
to allow
go?
you to let it go, right?
Yeah,
Hmm.
allow it to let go with more ease.
Wow. It reminds me, and I really appreciate that. It reminds me of a conversation that I had probably a month or so ago, and the word was flexible.
Mm.
And I was, yeah, and the my guest Brent, he was talking about he's a physical therapist, and
Uh-huh.
he was talking, he was pointing to some of the things that you were saying, that we think the pain is our shoulder, but
Right.
it's really this,
Exactly.
it's the other side, that because of something that happened or didn't happen over
Yeah.
here is causing this to be out of alignment and everything like that. And I'm like, you know, too often we try to
Right.
work the shoulder, we do all this that, and we overwork it, and
Endlessly,
then we
right.
cause other problems. Then we cause other
Right.
disjointedness. And so really embracing, I for me, what I'm getting, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this, but getting the wellness, understand the wholeness of that, then we're like doing a scan. We're
Yeah.
we're we're like scanning. There's this inquiry of our body, of our
Yeah.
mental state, of our finances, all the things. and kind of do a wellness check or assessment. And the
Yeah.
more that we're up to those things, we can see, the causes,
Yeah.
of being out of alignment, or the trauma, or or the overcompensations, that we find us to show up as not well.
Yeah. And
So,
another thing that just popped into my brain, one of my friends who's actually a chiropractor, I met her years ago when I was in a lot of pain, and I went in and I said, "It hurts when I do this and this, and it hurts when I do this." And she said, "Well, don't do those things." And
right,
it almost seems like a cliche now, but she
right.
said, "Just keep going to the place of ease." So
Hmm.
if it hurts when your shoulders up here, just keep breathing, find the
Right,
place of ease. And that could be true for all the things that we do. We tend to, like,
right,
be so harsh with ourselves. How do
right,
you keep finding the place of ease?
right.
Not so
Place
easy,
of
but
ease.
but but a,
Right,
a kind of a benchmark.
right. And that, I have a category of, that's a simple but not easy category.
Right. Exactly.
So it is definitely
Yeah.
something. We could talk about this for hours, because I'm
I
just kind of, the
definitely
more
could.
the more that you talk, it's like, okay, well, what about this area? What about this area? And it's like all these
Right.
all these
Yeah.
things that's coming up, and
It's a
I'm
big
I'm
word.
looking right, and I'm looking at places, in my movement, where I'm moving and not moving throughout my day, where I can incorporate
Yeah.
movement, and
Even
just kind
sitting on
of
a
just kind of
ball or standing.
right. So the contributing to my overall wellness, and
Yeah.
and 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 just doing that. So, um, is there any less? I mean, you've given us a lot of incredible tools and insights. Is there any
Yeah.
last thing that you would want to share, with everyone?
Well, I'll just share this one little piece of how I think is like the shortcut is
Hmm.
through laughter.
Hmm.
So I have on my website this Pilates with laughter, because I discovered that when you laugh, you engage your deep abdominals and you find that deep strength automatically without thinking about it, and it
Right.
releases all kinds of good chemicals in your brain, and you become kind of elated.
Right.
So I was an actor, so I learned how to physically laugh, and when
Right.
you put laughter in physiologically, your body doesn't know the difference between real or forced
Or
laughter, and
imagine.
it's
Right.
also
Right.
contagious.
Hmm.
So when you do a quick exhalation,
Right. Right. It is contagious, right?
so even if it's kind of fake,
Right.
it just kind of puts you. Just feel how it makes you smile
I
naturally.
know. It's
It
like,
lets
okay.
your breath come in more naturally.
It's like, she's doing an example. Just pay attention, right? And it's like, no, I gotta let, right? Right. That's funny.
Right.
But
So
no,
just
that's
faking
great.
it.
Right.
So on my website, I have a free course about Pilates with laughter, and it's really, really simple movements with
Great.
laughter. So
Great.
that would just be my last little bit. Like, find the shortcut, find
Right.
your shortcut to
Right.
wellness. And if it's
Sure.
just fake laugh,
Right. Yeah. So you messed me up. I got things to do over here, and you're making me laugh, right? Right.
but let there be laughter throughout.
Right. Right.
Allow that
Right.
trio, body, mind, spirit, to be light and easeful. Don't be
Right.
so heavy.
Right. I love that trio of wellness. I'm gonna use that. I don't know if you've created that yourself, or if you've seen that, but just
No, I
just
don't.
that
I don't remember seeing that, but yeah,
just
that's how
just
I think
just
of it.
just using that language causes me to kind of look for the trio. So
Nice.
thank you very much. I typically say goodbye with from the green room, but this has definitely been a great conversation, and thank you very much.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Wow, this is fun. I'm trying to like, finish the show without laughing, So and I couldn't, right? So just saying laughter, it just kind of made me laugh. But I think really contributing to my wellness and really starting there, that is a great tool, and I just find those ways that because I'm one of those people that want to check off the box. Okay, I'm doing wellness today, and so I can start with my laughter. I hope this conversation added value to you. And as I said in the beginning, I would love for you to go to iamwilliambrown.com and sign up for one of my complimentary coaching sessions, and see if there's a conversation that you want to have so you can be yourself and to live your life. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon.